What's up, y'all? Welcome back. It's gonna be a fun one today. Let's get into it. Alright, you saw the title, you clicked the video, you know the line, everyone knows the line. If you don't know the line, or you haven't seen it in a while, let's refresh your memory and we'll get the fresh feeling of just,
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should.
What the actual hell does that even mean? It was cringy the first time I saw it, but when you go back and watch it years later, it's even more cringy now. So let's break this down and I'll give you my thoughts on this line and why I find it so cringy. So, granny shifting. In my eyes, take this however you will, I'm just some guy on YouTube, but granny shifting to me is just regular driving. You're shifting the car early, you are not getting too high in the revs, you're not trying to rev match, you're just shifting. You're shifting like your fuel economy depends on it. Or you don't want to seem like you're driving like a maniac. You damn crazy kids. It could be said that granny shifting is what you do when you're pulling out from a stoplight and there's a cop behind you. Now, the next part. Now, double clutching. I think the line is just poorly written. More so, I think the delivery of the line makes it that much more cringy. I think that's what gets to me the most, is because he's trying to be so cocky and so badass, and the line just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Double clutching to me, from what I know, is really for only big trucks, and they're downshifting with these big beastie transmissions, and they don't have the synchros and all that kind of stuff. Or it's in very old cars, and I mean very old cars. We're talking like pre-1919, because I'm pretty sure that's when the synchro transmission jazz was kind of invented. However, it wasn't in like production cars until the 50s, I think. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. My thing is I really want to know who wrote that line and thought it was a good idea, because you know that went through several meetings of like script reading and overlooking, and there's a room full of people with coffee and donuts, and everyone there was like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one we're going to put in the car movie. I digress. So I guess in case you don't know, I should maybe explain double clutching, but it's essentially you're driving along, you're in gear, you push the clutch in, put it in neutral, you let the clutch out, tap the gas, whatever you're doing if you're downshifting, push the clutch in again, put it in the next gear, and then you let the clutch out again. It's a whole ordeal. I did enough unintentional double clutching whenever I was driving in DC traffic, because we could never go a speed that was comfortable for a gear. First gear was too fast, second gear was too slow. You just give it the gas and put it in neutral and you just coast, because that's all you could do. And believe me, having an Exetti twin disc clutch in DC traffic gives your leg a serious workout. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like in auto racing, couldn't the double clutch be considered like a rev match? But even that, without getting into the technicals of it, is not really a true double clutch. But being in the same category of auto racing, I feel like those who use it based on their car, because there are race cars that have to do this, or however, there are a whole lot of factors involved, but regardless of the factors, I feel like it would be more so used on like road racing and like courses with like lots of turns and you're downshifting and all that kind of stuff. Why on earth would you use that in a drag race? Now, from my background in motocross, if you have to double clutch on like a start, that's awful, because the start is essentially a drag race between 20 plus guys, depending on if you're in supercross or motocross. If you double clutch coming off the line, you either spun your tire or your front end got too high, which that's not so much the case anymore these days because they have the start things that keep the front end down. But anyway, you made a boo-boo and you gotta double clutch it and you get swallowed up by the pack because you lose speed. But I'm not even gonna get into the technicals of the clutch on a motorcycle and all that stuff, because it's a whole different thing. I'm just saying essentially where I get my ideology from with double clutching. So while I could be wrong on some of my thoughts on this, I'm sure it can get much more technical in its descriptions and when it's used and all that kind of stuff. But I also feel like it's kind of situational based on if you're driving what kind of car, a big truck, whatever. But regardless of all of that, I think we can all agree that the line in the movie, which at this point has become iconic for however wrong or right it is, was just confusing and made no sense. Just for giggle's sake, let's say it did make sense. The sheer sass in which it was presented was cringy enough all on its own. Actually, you know what? No, it doesn't make sense. That technique at best is just a very old technique that shouldn't even have been in a movie in the early 2000s. Because literally every car in that movie had a synchronized transmission. Or at least I would hope so, because have you ever counted the shifts in those movies? Your leg would be gigantic. So that sums it up for me. That is the most cringy line to me. I'm probably going to do a video on all the cringy lines from all the movies that I've seen, because I got to be honest with you. I watched the first one and the second one. I never watched the third one, and I tried to give it another shot on the fifth one and just couldn't do it. And let me tell you, there are some doozies in the fifth one. But I thought this line deserved its own video because it is just so cringy, and it was the beginning of the franchise, and it's what started it all off, and this line really has become iconic. So, drop a comment down below. I would be very interested in knowing your thoughts on this line. Do you find it as cringy as I do? Am I wrong in some of my thoughts? Please enlighten me if I am, because I would love to know if all these years I thought that was a dumb line, it was actually a good line. But yeah, drop that comment down there. While you're there, don't forget to do all the other YouTube stuff down there. You guys know how it goes. It helps out a bunch. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.